Hello, my good friends. Welcome to the show. Dear audience, I love you so much. So I keep bringing informations, especially those important informations to the show, so that at least I can be some kind of references, right? And now, joining me for the reference, this is my good friend, a big friend, Mr. Steven Huntley. And he's a financing expert. In other words, his expertise is putting money together probably out of nothing. Really? Hopefully out of nothing for something, especially when you prepare for something big, such as you prepare your kid for college, for university, whatever. So you better start early. So once again, Steve, welcome to my show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Right, sure. Last time at the end of the show, we decided to pick a time to talk about college funding, right? And now we're ready to go. So what do you have for us as general? But first lay down about the cost of going to college. Okay. Right.
The cost of going to college right now, I believe, is the biggest cost any family will face. Think about the time involved, the effort involved, and all that. College goes up, it's twice as, the rate of inflation is about 3% right now. College goes up about 6%. If you look at colleges where they are, granted, in this area we have some of the finest universities in the world. Caltech, USC, UCLA.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
But they're extremely expensive. I mean, you're talking about, like UCLA is a public school. It's about $25,000 a year. USC is about $65,000. Caltech is around $80,000 a year. So
you name it.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it is very expensive. Yeah, it is very expensive. So to get to the point though, 30 years ago when I was here, just landed, it wasn't that much. It wasn't even. It wasn't even half. It wasn't even half. Maybe less than half about the level now. Right now we're talking about everything gets crazy. Remember last year there was a big event in Santa Monica College, where almost a riot, They end up into a huge conflict where police officers were involved, and excessive forces were involved, were applied,
Yes.
And then later, the board of the college decided not to do it. But they say, observers say that sooner or later they're still going to do it. So, do you think that's going to be a norm? Going on and on, going up and up, that's going to be a norm?
I think colleges continue to go up. I think that the price of college, at least in the foreseeable future, the next 10 to 20 years, is going to continue to rise. But colleges are going to have to realize that, hey, we're going to have to do something. They're competitive for the top students. They do compete. You go to a college, what's called a college fair, where you have multiple universities, they're looking for colleges. Some graduate schools, especially law school, have recently laid off professors. The reason is because it's supply and demand. It's just simple economics.
Exactly. I recall just now you mentioned about the index, which increases on an increment of about 3% annually, and you're talking about the cost for education on 6%. Which doesn't fall in the ballpark of logic, because when the index goes, everything follows the index. Why does the cost of education go by such a great, or even double the increment?
Well, that's a great question. I don't think colleges have to pay any higher electrical bills than,
of course not.
Than you have to pay or I have to pay. I just think that the demand is there. I mean, especially from students coming outside the United States, to come to the United States to go to like USC or UCLA, very high. That drives the price up. I think that it may have to do with labor, may have to do with the fact that colleges have to pay professors more in order to keep them. The top professors. It could be a multitude of things, and maybe they don't. Maybe colleges don't think of themselves as a business. They think of themselves more as a philanthropy. But if you look at what a college does, they have their students coming in, they're paying things, and then they're producing a student that will go on in life, So maybe they have to think of more of a business manner.
Well, I, of course, would fully respect,
Yeah.
right? With full respect, I may not necessarily agree with you on this aspect.
Yeah.
You're talking about, of course, paying the same kind of electrical bill,
Right.
the water bill, so on and so forth, right?
Right.
Now, and when that increases, it goes along.
Right.
Right. Then they have to pay higher salaries to professors, whatever.
Right.
And that goes along the increment also.
Right.
That's in the category.
Right.
And professor making like 30,000, well, per term, per semester or whatever.
Right.
Now calls for 45, and then it is included into the increment of
Into
the
the cost.
3%.
Right.
Now, the fact that some students come from abroad, such
Right.
from China, for example, they are rich, they have lots of cash, and
Right.
they even have money that burns holes in the pocket. Their parents do.
That's
right?
correct,
Now,
yeah.
so it all comes down to a question in our concept, from the bottom of our mind: are we taking, or are we throwing our college, throwing our education into the market, into the free market, or are we still holding as a line of education?
I think you're holding it as a line of kitchen. I don't think it's a free market.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
we're
think it's-
doing the way we're doing it look like we're throwing it into a free market. Let the market take care of
Yeah,
it.
but right now, colleges tend to think of themselves more not as a free market, more of an educational institution, and they think that they can walk away with getting 6% or so. Or
Yeah,
up
that's
to-
the
yeah.
way. That's the way they should.
Yeah.
That's the way they should.
Yeah.
But the fact is that what we see doesn't indicate that they are thinking that way.
That's true.
Yeah. For example, last year the Santa Monica College, what they tried to do was not exactly an indication of they have the thinking like what we are discussing about.
Right. Exactly.
So in other words, it all comes down to a point how we handle it,
Right.
right? How are we handling it? Your recommendation, please.
Well, how do we handle the cost of college? I think the number one thing is you have to look at the market. You have to make a qualitative understanding of where you want to go to college. Second of all, when you have a child, you have to start planning early for it. You can't start planning when the child's a sophomore or junior in high school. You really have to think practically at the moment of birth. Second of all, you know, what you have to look at colleges that are willing to come to you and say, if you graduate from a college, we would say that 97% of our graduates go on to get a job. I mean, what is the payback? What is the payback?
Okay.
And the government's beginning to look at that.
Okay. Let's keep the payback part later.
Okay.
Well, that's the back end of
Right.
it, right? Let's talk about the front end, which is whatever happens to be necessarily done or necessarily on the schedule of the parents
Right.
to get into that college or whatever, or UCLA, for
Right.
example, or any college any university that they pick. So, to your knowledge as a financial expertise, right? I know it is always an old cliche that you start early
That's
rather
right.
than late, right? We know that, and it's almost a rule, name of the game, right? To get to the numbers of dollars, though, how much do you think would put the parents on the safe line for a kid to enter to college as far as the saving account is concerned or investment is concerned?
That's a heck of a question. I'll tell you what, because
A hard one, right?
yeah, because
Okay.
if you're looking at
We need your point.
if you're looking at okay, I'll give you an example. If you're looking at a child who's born today, if they're born today, they went to UCLA, it would be $25,000 a year. In 18 years, when they're ready to go to college, it'll be about $45,000.
All right.
$45,000 a year is
Last them 2 years.
that's-
Oh no,
yeah,
barely 2
yeah,
years.
so that's what you have to plan for. Most parents are planning for what the cost is today, not what the cost is going to be in the future.
So-
So you do have to put the money away. But there are ways you can do it. There are programs out there. There's grants. There's loans. There's work study. There's the GI Bill. All that stuff that's available. You just have to figure out multiple streams.
Okay,
of
let's
income.
get point by point, right?
Okay.
It takes about 25,000 per year to get into a college.
I would say that's about correct. Yeah.
All right, and then 2 years will be 50.
Right. So
You're talking about, all right? Provided this kid doesn't receive any scholarship.
Right.
Okay, now, and then how much does it cost, as in your mind, as the financial expertise to get into the, say, for example, UCLA, for example,
Right.
and how much do we need?
Okay, for right now, to get into UCLA, $25,000 is tuition, books, and that room and board. You're probably going to need close to $40,000 because you have to
Close to
figure on
40.
transportation, that type of thing involved.
Close to 40
Per year.
And then per year,
Per
right?
year.
And then you're talking about 4 years.
They're talking about 40. So now you're talking $160,000.
$160,000.
Right.
All right, that's huge money.
That's a lot of money.
That's huge money. Now, with these numbers of dollars in mind now, we know maximum we need $116,000.
Right.
College, we're talking about $50,000. Right. Putting everything together, suppose your kid goes to college for 2 years. Right. Just take it easy. Goes to college for 2 years, and then university for 4 years. So we're talking about total of 6.
Right.
For the total of 6, you put the two numbers together. That makes a
you're probably looking at between $200,000 to $250,000.
Oh my God. Okay, now, I recall last time.
Depending where they go to college.
Yeah, I recall last time you have your recommendation about how you started at the moment the child is born to make sure it is okay. So let's take a short moment now. When we come back, we'll put number together from this end. You see they will be somewhere or they are not. All right?
You got it, Jan.
All right, stay with us.